ever noticed picture in frame what's happening off camera? Can this be utilized to capitalize off of a miss? All that is just rates of change happening at a pace, but it's a light off and a light on. It's all collective as one when it's going really fast, but to cut it in half, it's like there's no misconception of it's either on or off. This same thing is a phenomenon where there's motion inside of the strobe light, where if it's virtuous, it capitalizes off of it, and so it looks unique. This is one thing that models do. I gotta hand it to, the more I think about them, the more that I realize they're really good at like photogenics. And so what this means is that A, if you've got a good cameraman, but B, even if you don't, you can be a super great model, a supermodel, and capitalize off your surroundings because you're photogenic. This is kind of like what squids do with camouflage, but supermodels, they can camouflage in and make the surroundings complement them, or they can bifurcate the backdrop with the forefront and make them pop out like a sore thumb, but have it be a good looking one. Same thing happened with something that isn't a strobe light. It was people, and they're all in the room, so it looked like a plentiful amount of it. That in breakdancing, you break your body like going in quick motions left and right, and they have halts. So it's almost like a light on and a light off in the quick motions and stop gaps of their breakings. But everyone in a room was in unison. So it imitated a strobe light, except it wasn't one. And so it's the same effect though when a person was in it. And so when a person was in the strobe light, they were having the same effect as a person inside of a room with people breaking, or it's called pop locking. And so the virtuous effect was not encapsulated by lights turned off and on, but of the camera moving about the bodies that were moving. So the camera was getting blocked at some angles, and you saw the main character pop out and in between breaks, and it doubled as a strobe light. So there's this guy in the band named The Doors, and so this is like, I thought only rappers did, but he was in line with it. So some random college kids came up to me in this aisle inside the store, and they asked me to do like a photo op with them for a project. So we all stood in a circle, and they took a picture of us looking down at a camera. And it was the most cheesy thing I've ever did, but it was actually the second time I've been asked to do a picture, and it was for an advertisement of a startup corn dog company in Idaho. I understand these things of like set design, so that's how I know I'm over the target when it comes to explaining what a strobe light is versus a group of people enacting one, because it had the similar dynamic. More on that later, but the important part is that your eyes have rods and cones, and these are definite shapes, seen as with like what an actual formula is. Can this be fabricated? I learned this in like Afghanistan. There was an entire war that occurred is because the TV kept pushing the narrative that Iran had weapons of mass destruction. Now, they didn't at the time, but we've had so much going on where we keep sanctioning Russia. When you sanction some country, it means that you're at war with them because you're cutting off their resources. So it's like priming the pump to make them defenseless, so that war is occurring when either end doesn't see the end to a problem. How a war starts is through sanctions. Of occurrence, Russia on that part of the globe keeps allying with everyone around them in case there is a war, that they would have the sanctions that were cut off from them in the first place. So Iran, they're like partnered with them, and if they didn't have weapons of mass destruction back then, you can believe that they very well may now. There was this episode where in diagram they showed that this pastor blessed this water and it looked happier. and they had this picture of happy water and they had a picture of sad water. And so this was their depiction of quantum nature. We live in a quantum universe, and you can see like this aspect under a microscope of the difference of how you treat nature. And I guess people talk to plants, and it's this whole thing where like you're breathing oxygen onto the plant, so it becomes richer. So is the plant really having feeling? You know, you tell me. I don't know. I couldn't understand the water diagram, but apparently so. Enough to post it on TV. So, I mean, the believability of this stuff, it's pretty sure it's there. And even if it isn't, if you care for something that has better minerals and isn't synthetic, obviously it's going to be stronger than something that doesn't have a branch cut off from its rooting system, a branch withered. And then it turns into this thing where if it's a good tree, it'll bear fruit, and bad trees don't. So it's like this whole thing of knowing if the seed is good and if the branch is cut off and withered. And so these two aspects are just ways that you would be able to see, like, instead of water or a plant, you know, the water would make up plants. Water makes up all agriculture.